EA Interviews, episode 47.
Inspiration, transformation, success stories, and the imperfect action round. 7 days a week. Join Mario Ficini for today's Expert Authority Effect interview.
Welcome, Expert Authority World. I am excited for today's episode. Have you ever wanted to have better relationships in your business, connect with your clients more? Would you like to know what they're thinking before they even say it? Well, we have none other than Dino Watt, #1 international best-selling author and speaker, and he's going to dive into what he's found over the last couple of decades to help you grow your practice and help you make more money. We're going to bring him up right after we thank our sponsor. How would you like to grow your wealth easier than you think with the change you probably don't notice anyhow automatically? That's why I started the Compounding Interest Snowball Investing with Acorns and advise you do too. Get started simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns. All right, Dino, how are you?
I'm awesome as always. How are you doing, Mario?
I'm feeling fantastic. Let's jump right into it. What inspired you to start your company?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. When I was a kid, I was that kid who was like, there's no way you could put me into a desk job in a building. Just couldn't do it. I didn't know. I'm sure I would be ADD, back in the day where we weren't actually diagnosing it, but I've always wanted to do it. I would say my parents inspired me a little bit. They were both part-time entrepreneurs. My mom had a craft store that she had for a few years that she really enjoyed doing. My dad was always doing some sort of side hustle. He was a police officer, but he always had like a in-house vacuum cleaner company where they'd put the vacuum in the walls. Central Vac, that's what it's called.
Oh yeah.
He had a car wash at one point, which to this day he kicks himself for ever giving that up. And he had as a coin one. So I remember as a kid rolling the quarters over and over and again. All the quarters we'd get from the quarter place. And then he did spec homes. So probably that was where it started, which is odd because I'm the only person in my family that's an entrepreneur. And now my parents still think, they think I'm weird one. Like, what are you doing? Why don't you just get a job with security? So.
Yeah, I you're like me. I can't relate to that,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So with everything you've done, who do you help and how do you help them?
So the primary people that I help right now are practice owners, specifically orthodontic practice owners. However, it didn't start out that way. I started out just wanting to help higher-end entrepreneurs who wanted to do a little different with their life and focus on both their business and their marriage together. I have a very, very strong belief that if you're rocking it in your marriage, then you're going to be rocking it as a business owner. And if you're not rocking it in your marriage, you're going to be a worse business owner. And once you get those two together on the same page, you're going to do so much better. And I had a friend who's a #1 bestselling author, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all that stuff. And he hired me to help him out in his business because he always felt that it was important to have a coach in every aspect of your life. I helped him out in his business, and he was really ingrained in the chiropractic world. So he started referring me. He deals with money, and money is typically the #1 cause of divorce in marriages. So he's like, Dino, I'm dealing with all these people in their marriage all the time with their money. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to deal with their money. So how about I refer them to you? You help them with their marriage, and then I'll help them with their money. And I was like, great. So start off there. He got into the dental world, so I got in the dental world, which led me to getting a client in the ortho space, which led me speaking in the ortho space. And now pretty much primarily all of my clients are orthodontists.
Upwards of 90-95%?
Oh, yeah, easy. Yeah, and we're branching out this year. That's one of our goals, is to branch out to other practices, because it's really about the practice owner. The principles are the same. It's typically chiropractors, orthodontists, dentists, doctors. These guys go through years and years and years of schooling, and no one teaches them anything about being an entrepreneur. So they learn from the school of hard knocks. So I am a student of business. I've loved business my whole life. I've been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole life. Even when I had jobs, they were typically sales jobs where I had to make my own money, it was all full commission. So I did work for some other companies like Disney, those little companies like Disney and Nordstrom's and stuff like that. But for the most part, as an entrepreneur, about the last 20 years, and I just speak a different language to them because I'm merging both the business side and the relationship side. I'm not claiming they have to go back to school and learn all about business, but if they understand how to strengthen relationships in and outside of their business, they're going to be better at business. So,
yeah, because I believe if you're a winner in one thing, you're going to be a winner in everything. And it's
absolutely
the same thing, whether it's business or personal, it's still people skills. People are still people, whether you're talking business or not to them.
That's right. And even when I have people come to me, because I deal a lot with marketing and things like that, I help them understand that everything's a relationship, right? Like your relationship in marketing, understanding who you're actually talking to and how you're trying to build that relationship with them is key, right? Understanding that you're building a relationship from the very first time they ever hear your name, know who you are. I mean, you're a good example of this, Mario. I remember the first time I ever met you. It's like you're building a relationship even just by the way that you present yourself, right? You come every time dressed nicely, professional business, and people are going to be like, hey, what's that about? Do I want to build that relationship with them? It's everything. And I just firmly believe that everything I've ever received, and this is me talking, but I think it's for everybody, is that everything I've ever received in my life up to this moment is because of a relationship that I built. And everything I will ever receive from here on out will be from a relationship. So why focus on anything else? Because everything else is just appendages to that core function of relationships.
Well, I love that you touch upon that. And I remember when we did meet, and I knew that was your background. I thought it was great because so many people talk about the money or the Facebook thing or the LinkedIn thing or this, that, the other thing. And it's, you know, you don't need to be a rocket surgeon to go, how did these companies around the turn of the century build multi-billion and trillion-dollar companies without the internet? What did they do? Added value, built relationships, kept doing it.
Yep, absolutely. That's what I do.
So with all the success you've had with speaking in your book and all the people you've been helping, let's talk about one of my favorite things, success stories. Because personally, one of the reasons I started this was to bring back good stories and moral values. And there's a lot wrong with the world. Everyone knows that. But I think there's too many success stories that go hidden just for the tantalizing press of someone getting shot or some crap that, you know, they know will sell. So one of the things I put in here purposely was success stories. Who would you say is your biggest success story that they were struggling, you were able to help them, and now they're better off for it?
That's a great question. And let me just say, just to preface this, I believe 100% what you just said, that we have so many great examples out there of good things going on in the world that it's just like everything, right? If it bleeds, it leads. The drama is going to get the focus. But there's a lot of great stuff going on. And so when people on social media or on the media in normal media, you know, are complaining about, people are having it really rough right now and make it really hard. I think that they're just perpetuating the idea that it's hard, as opposed to, no, look at all the amazing things that are going on and the people who are making this world a better place. We're doing okay, guys. Like, we're going to survive. We'll be okay. One of my favorite success stories is actually probably my very first real client in the current iteration of my business now. And now we have success stories in the marriage space, which is awesome, where people who literally had already given the deposit to the lawyer for divorce, and then they came to our event and changed their mind, and now they're doing amazing all these years later. We have those stories. I think business-wise, for me, there's a gentleman who reached out to me. He met me. He saw me speaking at a small event, and he invited me to go out to dinner with he and a couple of his buddies. We go to dinner, and he ends up hiring me to come into his office. And it was the first time that I really asked for what I felt my worth was and what I could do on a monthly basis. And it was the highest I'd ever asked anybody to invest in me. And it was huge for me. And I remember, for me, the success story at that moment was asking for it, him saying yes, absolutely. And then I talk about the story often about walking through the airport. It was in Northern California at the time, and I was flying home, and I had this check in my hand, and I felt like I was walking on air like the whole time, just going, this is awesome. And I know I'm going to deliver. It wasn't a matter of like, oh no, what am I going to do now? It was, I know I can help this person. Cut to a year later, he's got a completely different business. His marriage is skyrocketing success. And why I pick him as a success story is because I hold an event about 3 times a year called the Propreneur event, where I have doctors, and I max it out about 10 to 12 doctors come to me in Utah and we do a mastermind for 3 days. I was having one just last month, and the night before, he didn't know this, but the night before he sends me a Marco Polo. I don't know if you guys use Marco Polo. So if you don't use Marco Polo, it's basically a video text message, if you will. And he sends me a Marco Polo, and he's just like, hey, I just wanted to tell you what you did for me back then. He tells me these goals that he just hit and how he met him and all that stuff. And it's great. And he goes, Dino, you literally changed my life. He goes, I can't even imagine where I would be without me engaging with you. Was it a tough investment for me? Absolutely. Did it pay off 100-fold? All day long. He goes, and I just tell everybody they have to talk with you. So I use him on those days where it's like when you're not closing the sale, or when you're a little frustrated, or when things aren't going your way, or you get to the end of the day and you're like, what did I do today? I use him as one of those examples of, all right, I got this. I know what I'm talking about. And he inspires me. And it's not even what I did, right? And this is something that I focus on with my clients all the time. Look, I'm going to give you some ideas and some concepts, and I'm going to make you hopefully think a little differently. But it's not me doing the work. You've got to do it. And that's what's going to give you the success. It's not going to be me. You're not buying your success. It just doesn't happen. So that's probably one of my greatest success stories that I just appreciate so much.
Well, that's a great success story because it didn't only benefit you, it most importantly benefited him. You also had the benefit, and now think of all the other people that now, since he's better off, he's going to benefit. It's something I talk about with my clients. You're not looking for, most people, I want a win-win situation. I want a win-win-win, because obviously Absolutely. We want it to be good, but it's not about us. It's about adding value to them. And if the client wins, that's fantastic. But what's the ripple effect down the road? When you put all three of those in alignment, you know, I told one of my clients earlier today, we're launching another book, and I told her, she's like, thanks so much, this and that. And I was like, hey, you know, I appreciate it. I'm very thankful, because it wasn't always the case. You know, it's one thing when you have customers and clients who don't appreciate you. I don't recommend working with those type of people, but I really do appreciate it, because it's like, I know what I've put in to get to where I'm at, and I don't take it lightly. But I go, same thing. She's the one doing the work.
Yep.
You know, she's the one, when I say, hey, do a live video to let everyone know you're doing the book launch, you know, in 6 days from now, she's doing it. She's following the instructions. So I can totally relate to that. It's, you know, hey, we're just guiding you. We're just the coach. But if you don't do the work, it's not going to work. Conversely, when you do the work, you're going to have your best year yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you know this or not, but the name of my company is actually called Our Ripple Effect. And I named it that because I had a person come to one of my seminars back when I was just focusing on the marriage side of things, and how the two kind of converged is my marriage stuff was all based around business principles. And that's where a lot of people were like, wait, what's this about? Because that's different and interesting. It wasn't about therapy or counseling. It was, if you're having a problem, let's find a business solution to that problem in your marriage. If you're having a bad communication issues, there's a system for that. So it's all systematized. And I had somebody come to my seminar once, and we did 3-day events with my wife. And at the end, she came to us and she's like, I don't think you guys understand what you're doing here. And I said, well, yeah, I have a focus and a goal, and I know what I'm doing, right? I'm changing, hopefully, the direction of divorce in this country, and that's my focus. And she goes, no, you're changing generations. Like, you're generationally changing people's lives. And for me, that was a big aha moment, because my parents, you know, divorced when I was 8. That's what started all of this, is me standing on a sidewalk watching my father drive away. And I wanted to change my trajectory in my life. And some of my siblings have, some of my siblings haven't. But that's my goal. And so when she said that, changing generations, I was like, wow, that's the ripple effect. That's the thing that makes the difference. I will never know the end of this pond ripple. And that's great. I'm totally comfortable with that.
Well, I'm glad you are doing it, because I remember when that was your focus, and it was great to see then, but it's been fun watching you over the years, because the businesses, I've always been drawn to business personally because of, again, the ripple effect you can make. You have that influence, you have that network out, and it's not to say you don't have it with people, in normal everyday relationships, but most people aren't touting around with 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 audience like your Oprah or some celebrity. When you
Right.
have that, I've never been drawn to it to say, look at me, I'm better than you. I've always wanted to use it since high school to say, who needs help? We can do it better, quicker, and faster. If for a fundraiser, for example, if you're trying to have a fundraiser, you ask all your family and friends and they might donate a little here and there. And there's other examples where there's people that need $30,000. Well, that could just be 10 phone calls if you know the right people that are affluent influencers. It does, and it's just the course they take. So it's part of my goal with this is to find great people like you and put them all together to say, hey, let's elevate humanity and go, like we said in the beginning of the broadcast, the world doesn't suck. God didn't make it to suck, and it's just the news that are feeding it all this. But here's all the good stories. My news feed on all the stuff I get, it's all the good stories going on, and it's just as much, if not more, than the other stuff, which I ignore straight up. And you should.
I'm a big musical fan, and there's a song back from a musical years ago that is all about that. Like, can somebody tell me a little good news today, right? Because everything's always negative. It's interesting you mentioned Oprah, right? Like, if you think about it, Oprah, she never did a show about how to do the technical part of things. It was always how to do the inside part of things, how to think differently, how to believe differently, how to treat people differently, people's human story of overcoming something. And she was able to have this huge influence and still has this huge influence based upon how to raise yourself to the next level. And then humanity will take care of itself because you're part of that ripple, And I often say to people, you're either affecting people or you're infecting people. I'd rather affect people in a positive way than infect them with the negative that's going on, commiserate with people. It doesn't excite me in any way.
No, same here. And I've always heard, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I definitely want to be part of the, you're a blessing or a burden.
Yeah.
It's like, if you ask yourself these three questions, it's like, what's the direction you want to take your life? It makes everything way easier.
Yeah, totally.
So I love the success stories. Thank you for sharing those. Let's talk about what video has done for your business. How has that helped you over the years?
Well, actually, it's the major part of my business, whether it be just being able to train on video and then have somebody watch those training videos over and over again. All of my clients, they have access to a video library where it drips out to them every month. They have a curriculum they go through, and it's me in my studio literally training them with my flip charts and the whole bit, as if I'm talking to them normally. I pause for exercises. I pause for I even ask for feedback, all right, everybody, tell me what's that word, and I'll make them do stuff like that because I want them to feel like I'm there. So that's been a huge piece. The other piece has been that in 2013, my family and my wife always wanted to do a year-long road trip around the country. And I was like, sure, my wife wants to do it. Sure, let's figure it out. I had to figure out how to get my business online. At that point, I was doing quite a bit of coaching and stuff like that through a Skype type situation or even sometimes just phone calls. But being able to have location freedom and really be anywhere in this country. I was in the weirdest places in the world. And as long as I had Wi-Fi, I could talk to my clients and I could have this conversation. I have a client right now in Australia. He's on the Gold Coast of Australia. I got to go visit him in November, which is amazing. But every month that I get to sit and talk with him or talk with his team, it just has brought so much availability to my business. And I work in a field where a lot of these guys don't have a lot of time to have people come into their office all the time. Now, I love my office visits and I love going in there and hanging with them and training them live, but that they can still get the same feel from me over video. It's so powerful. It's ridiculous that people do not have it in their business. As a matter of fact, I am getting my clients to use more video in their business and getting them to do exams and retainer updates or checkups. That's something that they've never done before, but now they're seeing the power of, wait a minute, if instead of having somebody come from school or leave work, come all the way to my office be in here, take up 30 minutes of my staff's time. And I can't believe I used the word staff because I never used the word staff. The team's time. And then, and not have to do that and yet just do a 5-minute retainer check on Skype. That saves me money. It saves my business. It takes me to, and it's another offering that I can give to my clients that nobody else is offering. So video is so incredibly powerful if used correctly. It also obviously is destructive if it's used incorrectly, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're finding so many benefits out of it. And a lot of people think it's only for going live on Facebook or maybe doing something on LinkedIn or something to that effect. But one of my favorite things to do with it is exactly like you talked about. You create a training and curriculum, beyond the book in both of our cases where you go, hey, here's our best-selling book. You can get a lot of information and value add out of it. However, there's also, in my case, an 8-week masterclass. And how do you do yours? Is it monthly ongoing, or do you have like a core class and then can go to continuity after that?
I have a couple. When it comes to my book, it's just a straight, I think it's a 6-week course. Okay. Man, I did it so long ago. It's a 6-week course. And yeah, it just is obviously a companion guide. It goes through the exercises. The book already has exercises, so it's how to do that. My second book, I actually did the exact opposite way. I created the videos first. I sent out the videos to all of my members, and then I had that book obviously transcribed. I edited quite a bit more than from the videos, but it was funny because I sent out the videos. I had people consuming those videos. I created the book, made that look really nice, had them buy the book, or I actually give out a ton of my books for free, and then had them get involved into the membership course of the same videos that they watched earlier. And they're doing it. It's like, because they just want to consume that. They need that guide. They need the reminder of the thing that they watched the first time, and now they're reading, and now they can watch it again and consume it better and hopefully retain it better.
It's interesting you say that because I never really thought about it for myself, but come to think of it, I did my third book the same way. I had been teaching the expert authority effect for years, and I already had people in my training, and I was sitting there one day going, I have books on my other stuff. I don't have one for this. I should probably do one for this too. And I did the book well over a year and a half, 2 years after I had the formal training on it, but I had been teaching it even before that. So that's the cool thing is, start where you are. I tell people, play it as it lies, take imperfect action. If you got the book, start a training. If you got the training, look into the book. There's so much you can do with it. So speaking of the book, how has your book helped your business?
My first book has helped my business a ton because first of all, I've always wanted to write a book like most people. In the marriage space, I worked on writing a book for a long time. I even hired a co-author to help me out. And it just, I'm very, I always want to add more. Like it's like, I'm like, but I want to talk about that and talk about this. And what about that? And I just could never get to it. Well, then my book that I ended up writing, the Practice RX, that was I got very disciplined about the framework that I wanted to do. And I went, okay, I'm only going to talk about these 4 principles and 2 principles underneath each one. And that's it. And it made it a lot easier to write. I actually wrote that book in probably about 6 months. However, my writing style is I have to be away from my desk. I can't be at home. I love being on an airplane, and we get stuck on airplanes. We got delays. I love it because I'm like, good, I'm trapped. I can't do anything. There were probably about 4 to 5 times where I just rented a motel down the street from us, down by the freeway. I stood there I went in there for a weekend and was like 3 days, just not having to worry about anybody else, just the internet and me, and not internet sometimes, and just focus on writing what I wanted to write, do all the research I wanted to write. There's a time where I took my RV out and I sat in my RV in a Smith's parking lot for 38 hours just because I have to be secluded. My next book I've actually thought about, there's a train ride you can take from California to New York and then back. And I thought about doing that. Yeah, I thought about doing that. But anyways, how did it help my business? I give my books away. So my books are available on Amazon. I did a full promotion to get it to #1 bestseller. International. It went international in countries that I don't even speak the language. So that was awesome. Love it.
Congratulations.
But, thank you. Appreciate that. It was a really cool experience to, I mean, you know this, right? And my book, I really put heart and soul into it. My second book, I can say, right, it's from the videos and it's more of a daily affirmation type thing for 21 days. The first book, I really put my heart and soul into it. I'm going out to this industry that doesn't really know me. So I'm trying to make a splash and become an authority in there. But it's like, hey, here's my baby, judge it, if you like it or not. Right. And so it was really nice to see the feedback, but how it's helped my business the most is this. I don't sell my books when I go out and speak. I give them out to everybody. I have made I actually added it up just a few months ago. I've made over $1.5 million just off of giving my book away. And I am happy to do that. There's no way a publisher would have given me $1.5 million advance, right? Or I would have made $1.5 million off of selling that book. And I probably have given away, probably 1,000, maybe 2,000 books. And I've made that much money. I always say my book is not a business plan. It's a business card. So when I see other speakers, I was just at an event recently where there's a whole bunch of speakers and every one of them had a book to sell at the back of the room for their $20, $30 and taking nothing away from them. Great. If that's what you're going to do, awesome. But the power of giving your book away for free is insane. And so that's how it's helped my business a lot.
Well, I'm glad you said that because straight up, I'm going to show this to a couple of people specifically because they're still going, I want a real publisher versus a self-publisher, this and that. And I'm like, I could tell you, I've got dozens and dozens of my own success stories, let alone I sell my book and I've also given it away and I can attest to this. It's all very much true. But thank you for saying that because a lot of people don't believe it straight up, all that negativity with society and everything. They're going, I need that $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 advancement. And it's like, okay, you're going to lose all your freedom, all your everything, and pretty much every other money coming forward for the next decade.
I talked to a friend of mine who first had self-published her book and then went and found a publisher who's still a smaller house publisher. She still had to pay to have things done and things like that. But she said when it came down to it, the only benefit that she got was that she actually sees her books on the shelves of Barnes and Noble. And I was like, awesome. I can get mine there too. Like somebody orders mine, I can get it too. That's not a problem. But that to me, that's more of an ego thing. And she's amazing. And I'm not saying she's egotistic at all. For me, I'm like, I don't care. Here's what I do. In my head, I know from the feedback that I've gotten from the clients that have reached out to me, from the people, I was just at an office last week who's like, he said, I've read your book twice and I'm on my third time reading it. I know I could get a publisher to publish it. I know I could. It's a good book. It's really good. I don't need it. I used to say to people when it came to my marriage mentoring stuff, they'd be like, well, why don't you just go and become a counselor? Like, why would I take a pay cut? Like, that's ridiculous. Same thing. Why would I go take a pay cut with my book? The only reason is for that extra, I guess, if you really have a great deal. But I have heard so many friends of mine who went and got a publishing deal, and it's still them doing all the same work I'm doing. They just have a publisher breathing down their neck or having to buy thousands of books at a time. So,
yeah, I would equate it to what we were touching on in the beginning with the freedom, and you have the job mentality versus entrepreneurial mentality. I would say it stems on a psychological level of imposter syndrome in the main draw, ego or not, validation.
Yeah,
someone else deemed it worthy. Well, I'll give you a stamp right now telling you you're already worthy, born with the seeds of greatness. You don't need that, and they're going to take most of the royalties anyhow. Because I've considered it. I've had publishers reach out to me and I just look over the contracts and some of this. And part of me kind of wants to just to say, instead of pointing to everyone else, I can say, hey, I did both.
I did it. Yeah.
But I already know how it's going to go. It's a slower moving process, this, that, the other thing. But that's the cool thing. And like with the writing of it, you're the exact opposite of me, which is awesome because I'll take my phone and, say a little something here. Yeah. And maybe that's part of a chapter. I've never locked myself in a room just to do it. I've always a little bit here, a little bit there.
I understand. That was only after I have so many notes all over the place that I'm like, I'm never going to organize this at all. Matter of fact, the reason why, like I have a Samsung Galaxy Note because I will be in the middle of the night, like, oh my gosh, wake up with something, and I can pull out and I can write a note on my thing without waking up my wife and put it back in and go to bed. I have so many sticky notes on this thing.
You ever use voice text in Evernote?
I have used it before, and I don't know if it's me. The one I'm liking right now is we talked about beforehand was the Otter AI. I'm liking that.
Awesome.
That's actually really getting me better. And because I ramble a lot. And so I'm like, this is an idea. I have this. And I'll go back and be like, what was I talking about? That word doesn't make sense. I would have never said that word, but yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now for my next 2 upcoming books. We've got a lot of.
Yeah, I've used it for all of mine. The setting you might need to switch is the voice. It might be Samsung's voice thing. It might not be using Google's. But I've used it for at least for part of all my books, because straight up, maybe let's say when I'm at a red light, I'll jot something down. You're sitting, you might be at an airport. I can't do stuff on a plane. I know a lot of people say that. I have another client who she's writing her book because she travels every week on the plane. Not the one we're launching next week, but I'm like, I'm watching my movies and enjoying myself there. But that's the thing is, there's so many different ways and different stories of people I've heard being successful with it.
Yeah.
It's like whatever your style is, fine. The end result is just do it. You can do it in 8 weeks, get it out there and help more people with it. So I appreciate you for sharing how the book has helped, how the videos helped. We're going to go to the sponsor, but when we come back, I got the imperfect action round ready for you.
All righty.
Invest automatically, save for later, and spend today. That's why I love Acorns. I used to think spare change didn't make a difference, and saving and investing was an old-fashioned manual process. It's not, and it's a game changer. If you're not leveraging compounding interest in your business and life, automatically, you're missing out. Acorns not only makes saving and investing easy and automatic, it makes it even more valuable by investing with diversified portfolios, spare change, extra cash, and rounding up everyday transactions. You can even set recurring monthly investments in the amount you desire. To make good great, there is also a debit card option that will continue to help you save and invest even further when you spend. Plus, no minimum balance and overdraft fees. Now, for the cherry on top. They have partnered with 250 plus companies and brands, and growing, with their Found Money program to invest back a percentage into your account with the everyday purchases when you shop. 2 of which you're probably listening to this right now through an Amazon or Apple device. Get started profiting from your everyday life and business simply and easily today at eainterviews.com/acorns. Once again, that's eainterviews.com/acorns. All right, Dino, we're back with the imperfect action round. Are you ready to take imperfect action?
Bring it on.
So the first question is, what is the fastest path to the cash? Because people listening and watching this, they have businesses. Yep. What is the fastest path to the cash you would say if they're just starting out?
Know who your ideal client is and narrow that sucker down. Your ideal client is not everybody. It's not, I promise you. Even though your thing is wonderful and beautiful and it's the best thing ever, it's not everybody. Narrow it down, and then go wide.
Excellent. Second question. What is the biggest problem you see your prospects making and the fastest way they can fix it?
Trying to figure it out themselves, and the fastest way they can fix it is to get a mentor. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about anyone. So many people, you just can't read the label when you're sitting inside the jar. It sounds so trite and so overused, but gosh, and I deal with higher performing entrepreneurs. They've lived their whole life being able to figure it all out themselves, and they can't figure it out. Hire a coach or a mentor, somebody who can see it outside. And there's a whole nother piece to that, but I won't go to that.
Do you want to?
Well, I just believe that there's 4 levels of help that you can get. The first level is a coach. There's somebody who typically is in that industry and they have a specific way they do things, a life coach, a health coach, whatever. It's like you follow this path. Then you have a mentor who's a little bit more outside and allows for more flexibility and is trying to find out, okay, what do you need and how can I get you to that thing? And then you have a consultant. Usually consultants are from within the industry, that they're someone who has grown up in that industry and they know the ins and outs of the industry and they can teach you how to do things better within the industry. And then you have an advisor. An advisor is someone who typically isn't from that industry, studies all the other industries, and can bring those industries into your world and just assimilate them down to what you need and help you that way. I consider myself an advisor. In my industry, there's a lot of people who look at me as a consultant because that's all they know. But I'm disrupting that industry a lot by showing you, no, I'm not those guys. I'm an advisor. It's at the highest level of help you can get. So depending on the level that your people watching this are on, they need to look at, what do I need? Do I need somebody who can just tell me how to eat better? Great. And I have that. I have a health coach right now who's tells me what to eat every single day. That's it, right? Maybe you need a mentor, maybe you need a consultant, maybe you need an advisor, but whatever level it is, then go with that.
Well, I'm glad you broke it down, and I've never heard it said that way. You can't read the label inside the bottle. I've heard, you have your own, everyone has blind spots you can't see outside of yourself, but
yeah,
I like that. So the third thing would be customer lifetime value. We're talking to entrepreneurs, and everyone wants a successful business. What's the greatest way to maximize the customer lifetime value? Or maybe I should change this to client lifetime value, because realistically, I know there's a difference between customers and clients, and I think you do too.
Yeah, in my industry, it's hard to change the verbiage from patient to client, and that's what I do, right? A patient is somebody in and out. The client is, like you just said, it's a lifetime, right? That's what I want to create. For me, the best way to maximize that is, it goes to the old saying, which is just true, is, you sell them what they want, but give them what they need. And then when they realize, oh, I really needed that thing, then they're going to want more of that and more of that and more of that. And I think that's the best way to really not only help your clients, but also keep them wanting more. And I say that with, there are times where I get to a place with a client where I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like, I don't want to work with you anymore. That's key too, right? You got to be able to know who you want to work with, and you don't. Not everybody is your customer, like I said earlier, and not everybody's your customer. It's okay. They can find somebody else.
Excellent. So, a couple more things. Why don't you drop a book recommendation for us? What's a book that's helped your business the most? No, let me rephrase that. What's a book that's helped you the most that you'd recommend to everyone?
I would probably say, a book that's helped me the most. First one that pops up to my mind is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. It's probably a great one for me. I look at a lot of the habits that I have and go, okay, what's causing that? Second, just because I'm a continual learner, and I'm very impatient, but it's really helped me, is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. So it's funny because I started doing this before I read his book. Even though I've known of Darren for years, never really sat down and just actually read the book, or actually walked and listened to the book. That's what I do, is I listen to a lot of books. And he has the example in there about the gentleman who started playing the piano at age 40 and by 60 was a virtuoso. Well, I started playing piano at around 41 years old because I've always wanted to. But to me, it's the slow growth. It's the, like, I'm in it for the long haul. So those, I'd probably say those two I reference them a lot with people.
Well, I appreciate the recommendation.
Yeah.
So where can people find you? Where can they get their book? Where should they look for you for more information?
Yeah, absolutely. You just go to dinowatt.com. It's pretty simple. DINOWATT, just like the dinosaur if you're from the 70s and 80s like me. And it's you can go up there. You can see where you can get my book. You can link on that. It'll either take you to Amazon. You can also click on the one that says get it for free. You can choose either way you want to do it. Sure, I'll take the, $5 that I get from Amazon if they send it that way. But like I said earlier, that's not my purpose. If you want to email me and just have me send you out a book, I just do charge the shipping and handling, which I think is $7. And it is just dino@dinowatt.com.
Very good. Well, thank you for sharing your insights. You definitely gave me some things to think about also, and I know Expert Authority World got some value out of it. So thank you again, Dino.
Thank you, Mario. You give a great service here. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. We'll see you again.
You're already successful. You've worked hard to get where you are. We both know it wasn't overnight and hasn't always been easy. No doubt you're the expert on your subject matter. But do your prospects in your marketplace think of you first as their go-to trusted advisor all the time? ExpertAuthorityChecklist.com is 100% free and reveals the 21 steps to determine if your prospects view you as the expert and authority of your marketplace or if it's just all in your mind. Important required steps like, do you have a process in place for prospects to self-identify if they qualify for your time and expertise or not? Does your current offer have the 7 components of an irresistible offer required to make it a no-brainer for your prospects? Do you have a real-life paperback book showcasing you as the subject matter expert you can actually hand someone? Get your free checklist now at expertauthoritychecklist.com. Once again, Expert Authority Checklist, to make sure you have the 21 steps covered. It better not be more, but don't leave those 1 or 2 things you may have missing go any longer. Visit expertauthoritychecklist.com and make sure you're being seen as the expert in authority today. Once again, that's expertauthoritychecklist.com. Get your copy now.
Invest automatically, save for later, and spend today. That's why I love Acorns. I used to think spare change didn't make a difference and saving and investing was an old-fashioned manual process. It's not. And it's a game changer. If you're not leveraging compounding interest in your business and life, automatically you're missing out. Acorns not only makes saving and investing easy and automatic, it makes it even more valuable by investing with diversified portfolios, spare change, extra cash, and rounding up everyday transactions. You can even set recurring monthly investments in the amount you desire. To make good great, there is